Like, it took me time. It took me many months for me to get to a place now that I can actually sort of talk about it and whatever. A lot of things that happened that really made me feel as though, like, I have to get out of here because I don't want to leave Korea with, like, a bad taste in my mouth, and I never want to come back and visit, and I never want to, like, be around, anyone. Yeah, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Geneva J. Yancy. It's been a while since I actually have filmed a video for y'all. It's been an ill minute. I am so sorry, y'all. I didn't already know, your girl has moved back to America. We do not live in South Korea no more. Now, is that a forever decision? No, but I did decide to move back to the US because I wanted to basically get a break from all the chaotic stuff that was happening in my life. There was just too much going on, and I just felt like I needed a breath of fresh air, which may sound weird. Like, y'all may be like, you can go outside to get a breath of fresh air. But it's like, I just felt like all the things that were piling up on top of me, like different types of situations, friendships, like all kinds of stuff. Like, it just made me feel as though, like, I need a break. And what better way to do that than to just come home? Mental health was starting to just not be good while I was, like, being there. My job, let's say jobs of being an English teacher. Because, child, it's nothing to joke about. Being an English teacher, like, y'all may think that it's very easy peasy and it's, as a native speaker, you should have no issues with teaching English. The kids should be nice to you. Working at school shouldn't be hard. Like, you get off school early. Public school, let's start with public school wise. You know what? I blame myself. I feel like I should have just not have complained so much about being in public school as I did. I guess because I didn't really like being in the countryside. I wanted to move to Seoul, but of course when you apply with Epic, you cannot really choose where you're going to be placed at. Like, you can try to, but most times you will be placed where they feel like you will be best fitted. Chamyong at the time, but deep down I feel like I want to be a city girl. And you would feel like it won't bother you over time, but it did. But I made sure that I would stick it out and apply next year for the city, which I did. A job in the city within Seoul. I lived in two different types of city. I lived in Songpa, and then I also got another job again, working in Gwangju. I would say from my experience of basically working at 3 different schools, I just realized that teaching English is just not for me. Like, what you want to do, and then you try to do something else thinking that you should do it, but you realize in the end, like, you're just always going to end up gravitating back towards the thing that you really want to do, but you feel like you may not have the confidence for it. I got like a traumatic experience. It's not even funny. A whole traumatic experience from teaching. Like, public school was pretty chill. Parents can still be something, but first year, some things that I learned on the job. Shout out to my co-teacher that I had. And I moved to Seoul in the first school that I was at. Child, you couldn't get me to work back there. I wanted to blacklist them so badly, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna let God do his work. Like, I thought by not seeing them on the blacklist that they would be a good school, but no. Sadly, no. School really did ruin my first experience with private school because not only were my colleagues something, at times I just felt as though, like, I didn't really get the help that I needed, and I felt as though, like, the whole reason why I went to be a private school teacher, working at a hagwon, was because I wanted to be able to talk more in English and teach the kids English, the kids who already kind of have a feel and idea, like how to put sentences together, like they can be more verbal in class, which was great. There were some, but at my first hagwon, there was a lot of them that really could not speak English. So that was a struggle for me. And then I was not allowed to talk in English. I will say, teaching made me realize, yeah, I don't think I can do this forever. Like, working at public school, I used to think that all the free time that I had I think I took it for granted because I used to think, like, like, I want to do something. I want to use this free time to maybe go out somewhere, live in the city. Getting off at 4 p.m. I can go do things and still come back home, get some sleep, and be able to get up for work. But I spent most of my times at home, and then weekends I would travel to other cities. So when I did move to Seoul and I did get to experience that lifestyle and hanging out with my friends and stuff, y'all want to see those videos, I will also post it up here somewhere. I had the time of my life, but work-wise, I was not enjoying it as much as I was enjoying it at public school-wise, if that makes sense. And Seoul made me realize that, like, yeah, this work life working as an English teacher is not for me. I just feel as though like everything's just, they want things done fastly. They like, there's a lot of times where I would be stressed out. Times I would be stressed out and I wouldn't even know I'm that stressed out. It was just kind of scary. And I can't handle stress sometimes that well, to be honest with you. Like, I'm a person that hates worrying, and once I start feeling like I'm worrying about things, I feel like every day I'm getting up, I'm getting anxiety. If I feel like the people that are in my environment are also causing the stress to me as well, I just don't want to be around it. Working as an English teacher kind of scarred me in a little bit, and kind of made me feel as though like I really don't want to teach English, especially not overseas in Korea or maybe in other places. Kind of, you know, it just left me with the feeling of like, this isn't for me. And also it just made me feel as though like, imagine working somewhere and feeling as though like you need to be like absolutely perfect. Like any mistake you make, it's like almost like a stamp on you forever. It's almost like you're gonna be branded as like incompetent or something. Like, I just can't stand stuff like that. Those schools started making me feel like I was crazy. Like, they started making me feel as though like judging myself and making me feel as though like, why am I here? Like, is this really for me? And I just feel as though like there's no way I went a whole year being great and doing good out of school, and then suddenly it's like I'm being taken advantage of, or like they're not telling me reasons why certain things are happening. Like, why, like, it just was so many things that were happening that just started to make me feel as though like this environment is not good for me. It's not good for my mental health. And as much as I love Korea, as much as I want to stay in Korea, as much as I want to live here for long term, as much as I want to be here and strive for things, I realized that like, yeah, being an English teacher, sorry, it's not for me. And it just makes me feel like I'm teaching these kids, I'm doing my all, but like deep down, I just feel like this is not the job that I'm meant to do. I taught English as like, you know, like as a challenge for me, like to live overseas and to also like teach kids like, you know, a language that's native to me, that, you know, that I know, that I can teach to someone else. But to constantly feel as though like, okay, I get it that I'm in someone else's country, but at the same time to also make me feel like, to say like I'm like looked down upon. And I'm not judging the whole society, I'm just talking about like the schools that I was at, like those specific schools. I just will never work there again. You could not pay me the amount of money to go back to them schools, child. So I just wanted to come back here to say that like the reason why I left South Korea is because work-wise it was not doing good for me, and meaning my mental health, the way that I felt every day getting up to go to work. I just felt as though like working at a private school, if you cannot handle that kind of environment where it can be stressful, you will have parents constantly kind of nitpicking you for certain things that you're like, I know this is right, like what's the issue, like things every 2 seconds. Like, it messes up your mind, literally it messes you up. And I just get too deep into it because I just feel as though like it took me many months for me to get to a place now that I can actually sort of talk about it. And a lot of things that happened that really made me feel as though like I have to get out of here, because I don't want to leave Korea with like a bad taste in my mouth, and I never want to come back and visit, and I never want to like, you know, be around, you know, anyone. Like, so many friends, like so many people that like basically I consider like my family. Like, girl, when I tell y'all I was boohoo crying to my mom on the phone, like, am I really gonna have to leave South Korea? Like, I've never planned on coming back home. Like, I'm continuing my life and working, you know, living life there. But once those things started hitting me, I was like, maybe it's because God's trying to tell me that like, Geneva, this is just not the job that's meant for you. You can try to push it, you can try to continue, you can try to like, you know, see, maybe it's just this school, let's go to another school and see. But in reality, if you keep continuing, if you keep seeing the same thing happening over and over again, where you just feel as though like your efforts are not being seen, or you feel like you're being taken advantage of, you're being judged, you're being like just overly critiqued for no reason, it's just take yourself from the environment. And look what I did, and I feel so much better. Moving to Seoul, I realized that like, yeah, if Korean people can complain to me about Seoul life, imagine me as a foreigner. Like, yes, it's all fun and games like on the weekend, like sign me up, like you can get a little drink or two, go out, and you can forget about it all. But like when the work week starts, depending on your situation, depending on your school, depending on how your work hours may be, depending on how many classes you have stacked up private school wise, it can kind of get to you. Like, time for yourself, feeling as though like classes are thrown on you, feeling as though like you're not fully prepared for things that they may throw at you. Like, they really don't tell you that much about how private school sometimes really can mess with you. And I feel like that's something that's not really talked about as much on here, at least from the foreign teacher community. My only advice to y'all is, when you want to teach in Korea, make sure that you guys really, really do your research. Figure out if you want to teach public, figure out if you want to teach private. Now, I'm not sitting here to dog out private schools. I'm not sitting here to say that they're not the best, that they're blah, 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 blah. I'm just telling y'all from my experience. My experience. Working at a private school, I realized that if I could teach again in Korea, I would not do private school. I'd rather do public school. Take advantage. I would not try to think of the free time that I have as it just being something that's passing by, and like, because once I'm done lesson planning, once I'm done doing everything else, it's like I have time from 12:30 lunch until 4 something, and then I go home. Like, so all that time space, if I don't have nothing to plan, I'm just chilling, and I'm like, why am I here? I could, be doing something else. Like, but now I don't regret at all. I just regret that, I didn't appreciate it as much, because once I went to private school, it was like, so basically, yeah. So I would just say I left Korea because work life wise, it was getting too much for me. It was getting too hectic, and I realized that it was not for me in the end. Like, I have so many talents and so many different things that deep down I felt like I was pushing down to try to do something that I wanted to challenge myself about, and I realized in the end it ended up, I guess, hurting me in a way. And I don't want to say it's a super, super deep wound, because I feel so much better now that I've gotten away from it. But I feel like now, if I was to visit Korea and go back and see my friends and stuff, I wouldn't feel that weight. I wouldn't feel that anxiety that I would feel from working at those schools. And, so that's why I feel like it's really good to come to Korea with like a mindset of like, there are things that will happen that will not work in your favor. But sometimes if you really feel as though like it's not working, don't try to push it. Just sometimes you really have to see it for face value, that like, maybe this is something I'm not meant to do. Maybe the reason why these things don't work out for me is because like I'm supposed to be doing something else. Putting myself in this environment, if I continue to keep myself here, knowing that things are not good, not only for me, but for other teachers, and seeing how they're treated and how they're treating me, I need to get out of here, which I did. And it's best to just get yourself out of it now, take a break, think about what you want to do, and if you want to go back, make sure that, you take the proper steps to get yourself back into it, and, being at a place that appreciates you for your hard work, for how you are and how you teach, and to not overlook you, not try to challenge you, not trying to compare you to anyone. That is my little advice for today. Will I be going back to Korea? Yes. Will there in the future? Yes and no. It really will depend on if I applied to work there for another type of job and I ended up getting the job, then why wouldn't I live there? You know what I'm saying? No, like, but right now there's so many things that I feel like I want to accomplish here right now that I don't even really think about kind of going back like to live long term. I just think of like, oh, I want to take a vacation. So I think visiting would be good for me, like, especially since the way how I left would be good before I decide like, okay, do I want to stay here long term? If anybody's confused or want to ask me more questions, you can always email me or comment down below in the comment section. And best to answer the questions that you guys have, and let me know what other videos you guys want to see on this channel now that I'm back in the Americas. So yeah, for watching, I love you guys, and see you in my next video. Bye.